I am the devil. I am the Lord Satan from the netherworld, ruler of the damned and eternal king of hell. Even I, the master of deceit, can only stomach so much bullshit from the mainstream media and indie grifters. That's why I tune in to Morning Extra with Uncle Warren, because he eliminates my competition, and also because I know I'm gonna see that motherfucker soon.
Deo, Deo.
Baby's got a burger and a sugar and that shake it won't go down. Baby's got a burger and a sugar and that shake it won't go down. Corrosion to her thighs, erosion of her pride. Baby's got sugar, baby's got corrosion now, corrosion now. Baby's got it.
Good morning and happy Monday. Relatively speaking, what the hell? How you doing, everybody? It's me. It's Ernest T, aka Uncle Warren. I hope you are having a pleasant morning, and if not, well, there's nothing I can do about it, except to make it worse by depressing you with news of the world. Because that's what you're here for, you bunch of sadomasochists. In that regard, I say good morning. And I just wanted to say in a note in the intro there, in the song there, you know, baby's got a booger, and then some words you can't understand. There's the one part where the guy goes, he sounds like he says corrosion, and then the guy in the back says Joe Rogan. And I'm like, what? It's like a recording of a recording of a recording, and I said, fuck it, we're still gonna use it. Ooh-wee. I had a bit of the old herbal remedies this morning. Get things going, because yeah, it's gonna be like that. CBC voters here. How you doing, buddy? And of course, Miguel in the house. Hello, my friend. I want to do some people have like their own little like signature shout outs. That when I hear like, you know, like We Are Ronin, when he comes in, I go, you know, I do the We Are Farmers thing, the We Are Ronin, bum 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 bum. So I want to get like a little theme jingle for everybody. So because I know the Miguel 5000 quantum computer is just already implied now. You don't really have to say it anymore. So we need to come up with a new one. And we will, Miguel. We'll go to the labs and figure that out. Fingerman's here. See, Fingerman's got one finger, man. Good to see you, buddy. I know I'm weird, folks, but you wouldn't love me if I wasn't. Or maybe you would. Or maybe you just like kick me and spit on me. You know, hey, at least that's attention, right? Single tear. Nobody cares. Speaking of nobody cares, props here. No, I'm kidding. I missed you, honey. I had soup waiting for you on the stove, and you never came home. And you were like your father. You went out for cigarettes, and you never came back. You motherfucker. We got Chuck's Intergalactic UFO Show in the house. I know, Miguel, single tear. I've already missed my medical appointment, so let's make this good. I'm gonna pee. What, are you gonna pee? No, go urinate. Screw you, bearded bean but burrito. Anyway, it's fine. We're all good. I got done a little early with the prep time, so I was looking up some stuff, and it's nice because the last few days it's just been just like I updated my streaming program, and when you update it, it's supposed to be better, But, sometimes that's not the case. So, still dealing with that. That's why the gaming went teats up over the weekend. And I was not having that kind of nonsense. So, I want to make sure it's all nice and working good and stuff. Because thank God Prop wasn't in the mix. Because boy, I would have heard from him. You can't see nothing. This is unwatchable. I hate everything about your existence, Uncle Warren. No, everything except that last part I made up. It's gonna be that kind of morning, folks. We should probably get there at some point. Did we get everybody? Oh yeah, check out Chuck's UFO show. He had another one Friday night. If you missed that on his YouTube and Rumble channels, make sure you like and share and subscribe to those things too. Come on, help a brother out. What the fuck's wrong with you? God, I used to. What happened to you? I used to know you. I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to somebody else. Don't worry about that. So what are we doing here? So we got stuff to talk about, but first, of course, our buddy Chanda is, dealing with cancer of the lung variety, and I've seen pictures of her recently, and the treatment seemed to be doing pretty well for her. So we, keep it going, keep it going. Get those positive vibes out there. Pray, whatever you do. If you're a white witch, you're into the good magic and you want to help a sister out, I'm sure she'd like that too. Or, if you ain't got that, drop a few bucks that are GoFundMe. The link's down below, and if you can't donate, if you could share the link out, that helps a whole bunch too. So, because you never know, man. I'm a big fan of karma too. I think karma's for real too. You should do good things, for the sake of helping humanity and stuff. But, it really does. It's just like you do get some payment back for it in some way. It may not be monetary, but something happens along the way and you get some good out of it. So it makes you feel good, too, helping a friend like that. So because, if the more help they get, the quicker they get better and the quicker they beat this shit. And then the quicker they're back in the mix, robbing banks with you. Because, you're all a bunch of fucking criminals. I'm turning every one of you in for the reward. The Karama police, the Karama. Yeah, so, anywho. Hey, don't judge. You stoned pup ass. Look, I'm fine. I'm hepped up on goofballs, all right? Actually, I had some of these wasabi peas to help open my sinuses up a little bit, and it's great, but it's only temporary, right? So, I don't recommend wasabi peas as a permanent replacement for whatever remedy you have for a clogged schnoz. But that being said, a lot of shit over the weekend, so let's get to it. First off, this is a wild little chain of events. You guys probably heard what's going on. The second part is kind of new, so this is all right. So Israel launches dozens more airstrikes in Syria. HTS says it doesn't want conflict. Hey, look, buddy. No, my friend. No, we're good. They see we won. You can stop now with the boom, 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 and the dying and the. Israel launched dozens of airstrikes in Syria overnight Saturday into Sunday, despite the new de facto leader of the country, Abu Muhammad al-Jilani, saying his group, HTS, was not interested in a conflict with Israel. According to Al Jazeera, Israeli warplanes carried out about 60 strikes on Syria within 5 hours, bringing the total number of Israeli attacks since the downfall of former President Bashar al-Assad to about 800. Before Israel carried out its latest round of strikes, Jilani, who has been going by his real name, Ahmed al-Shara, criticized Israel's recent actions but said he didn't want a fight. I'll say, but you criticized them. Oh, you newbies on the block. See, this is the classic case of the dog chasing the car, and then he catches the car and then doesn't know what to do with it. No, he knows what to do with it, but then Israel comes along and starts bombing him. Well, that's kind of like paraphrased. We're not about to engage in a conflict with Israel, said Jalani, who was the leader of al-Qaeda in Syria before rebranding his group and forming HTS in 2017. He said that Israel's arguments for attacking Syria no longer exist because Iran and Hezbollah no longer have a foothold in the country. It's like, see, they're all gone, man. No, you don't have to keep fucking everybody up, dude. Everybody's gone. No, we're good. We're good. Just, whoa, please. Can we stop? We're you know. Go Start. What's up, man? Good to see you. Oh, man, I'm so sorry, brother. Well, you know, we're talking about a shitty world here, and I know the phrase, you know, she's in a better place, you know, kind of rings hollow, but, you know, in the literal sense, she probably is. So I'm very sorry for your loss, brother, man. But, so this is the, so that, you know, all this shit goes down, all these factions come together, like this HTS group. Either they were just very naive and thinking that Israel wasn't going to try and take advantage of the situation, or they get their marching orders from somebody else who was, you know, who told them, you know, Israel's going to do this to you. But the story gets a little weirder as we go along. So he said that Israel's arguments for attacking Syria no longer exist. Hezbollah Secretary General Naim Qassem acknowledged on Sunday that the Lebanese group lost its supply line in Syria due to the regime change. Yes, Hezbollah has lost a military supply route through Syria at this stage, but this loss is a detail in the resistance work, he said. And also they want to run a pipeline through Syria too, so that makes a lot of sense too. Assad didn't want that. While celebrating the downfall of Assad, Israel is also citing unspecified threats from Syria to justify its massive strikes. Oh, maybe it's Hamas is over there, right? It's Hamas. Hamas is everywhere. To justify its massive strikes and its invasion of southern Syria. Israel has taken over a buffer zone between the Israeli-occupied Golan Heights and the rest of Syrian territory and is also capturing areas beyond the buffer zone. Al-Mayadeen reported yesterday that Israeli troops are expanding their occupation of the southwestern province of Quneitra. The report said Israeli troops are only 15 kilometers from Damascus, right? Wait, come on. Why are you not? So, Syria said, well, can we have some help from from the world? Miguel over there on and Go Start on Rumble this morning. Thank you for that. That's very good. Yeah, so this is what I found was like, oh really? The HTS leader calls on the international community as Israel continues its operations in Syria. So, here we go. The new Syrian authorities are calling on the international community to intervene and help in stopping Israeli strikes, or help it stop Israeli strikes. The head of HTS, Abu Muhammad al-Jalani, has said in an interview Saturday on the Istanbul-based Syria TV channel, Ahmad al-Shara, who is better known by his nom de guerre, there's a French shit in here, spoke about Israel for the first time since taking over the country. Militant groups led by HTS launched an offensive against Syrian troops in November, capturing major cities and advancing towards Damascus. After the collapse of the Syrian military, former President Assad fled the country and was granted asylum in Russia. Al-Jalani said that the Israeli arguments have become flimsy and do not justify their recent violations. The HTS leader stressed that West Jerusalem has crossed the lines of engagement in the country, which might threaten an escalation in the region. I believe Gaza, Lebanon, and the West Bank would like to have a word with you and fill you in on how this occupation shit works. So since you just basically are just bitches at this point for Israel. Earlier in the week, Israel launched a major operation reportedly striking weapons stockpiles and naval vessels that belonged to Assad's army before armed opposition groups took control of the country. Israeli troops are also remaining in the UN patrol buffer zone between Israel and Syria, claiming it is a temporary sterile defense zone in southern Syria to prevent any terrorist threat. Of course, the word terrorist used very liberally in these cases in order to keep territory. Speaking to Channel 4 on Wednesday, an HTS spokesman stopped short of outright condemning the Israeli strikes, merely stating that the group wants everyone to respect the sovereignty of the new Syria. Al-Jilani called on the international community to intervene in the situation and assume its responsibilities towards this escalation. The HTS leader believes that the only way to ensure security and stability is through diplomatic solutions and away from ill-considered military incidents. Yeah. So that's a wild chain of events that happens, right? Blitzkrieg through the country. The military just basically laid down. They take over the country. They take over Aleppo. They take over Damascus, and it's basically game over. They've got the country, right? Assad flees, and now it's like, okay, what's going to happen next? Oh, wait, we're going to come in. And that was the thing. They came in and bombed 70 to 80% of Syria's munitions. And now they're going to go through, looking for the chemical, what was it? The chemical gas that they allegedly used to gas their own people. It's going to be some wild shit in Syria, man. And there's more where that came from. That's for sure. Because, like we said, Israel's just going to keep going through there. And sure enough, these so far are from antiwar.com. Be sure to check out that page. They do a lot of good news aggregation, as well as they got their own stories on there too. And really good stuff. So this is Dave DeCamp. Yesterday, the Israeli government approved a plan to surge the settler population of the Israeli-occupied Golan Heights, which comes after Israeli troops captured more land inside Syria following the downfall of former Syrian President Assad. The plan will spend $11 million to encourage the expansion of illegal settlements in the Golan Heights. The territory is currently populated by about 31,000 Jewish settlers and 24,000 mainly Druze Arabs who consider themselves Syrian. Strengthening the Golan is strengthening the state of Israel, and it is especially important at this time, Fuckface said in a statement. We will continue to hold on to it because it caused it to blossom and settle in it. Yeah. Israel first captured the Golan Heights from Syria in 1967 and declared its sovereignty over the land in 1981, a move not recognized by any country until the Trump administration did so in 2019. So you probably got more of that dumb shit happens when he gets back. Since Assad fled Syria and then al-Qaeda-linked HTS took over Damascus, Israel has launched hundreds of airstrikes in Syria and has taken control of a buffer zone that separated the occupied Golan Heights and the rest of Syria. Israeli troops have also invaded territory on the other side of the buffer zone and are reportedly only 15 kilometers from Damascus, as we said. The plan to expand settlements in the Golan Heights applies only to the territory Israel controlled before Assad's downfall, but there are signs that Israel could eventually settle the land it recently seized, which settler groups already have their eye on, because of course they do. It's part of the Greater Israel Project. If you see that map where it just basically has Lebanon and Syria and just, yeah. Israeli Defense Minister Israel Katz said Friday that Israeli troops will remain in the territory, which includes Mount Hermon, though through the winter. Given what is happening in Syria, there is great security importance for us to remain on the top of Mount Hermon, a strategic location overlooking Damascus, Katz said. The U.S. has backed Israel's land grab in Syria, claiming it as a defensive action, of course, because it's always defense when you're taking people's land. I'm defending my right to be greedy, as they say, and insisting it will only be a temporary occupation, right? Saudi Arabia is calling bullshit. Saudi Arabia calls Israel Golan planned sabotage of Syria. Well, it makes sense, Kay. You got a weak neighbor with no weapons. You know, what are they going to do? Saudi Arabia on Sunday condemned as sabotage of Syria an Israeli plan to double the population of the occupied and annexed Golan Heights. In a statement, the Saudi Foreign Ministry expressed condemnation and denunciation of the plan, which it called part of continued sabotage of opportunities to restore security and stability in Syria after opposition forces overthrew Assad a week ago. The kingdom renews its call to the international community to condemn these Israeli violations, stressing the need to respect Syria's sovereignty and territorial integrity, the statement said, adding that the Golan is an occupied Syrian Arab land. Israel agreed Sunday to double its population on the occupied Golan Heights, strengthening the Golan. Yeah. It's especially time. We'll continue to hold on to blossom. Israel captured most of the strategic plateau from Syria in the 1967 Six-Day War, and then, like we said, annexing it later in 81. So, so you're seeing their neighbors in the area who are keeping an eye on this. The U.S. is keeping an eye on it because they're part of the plan too. They helped facilitate this. They knew Syria. They knew HTS was weak. The hell, half the world thinks they're terrorists. I mean, what do you, if you smell bullshit, chances are you probably just stepped in it. Death to Tyrants over on Rockfin. Hello, good sore. Morning to you as well. And guess what? You may say what you want about HTS. They, of course, if they're in cahoots with these characters, chances are that's probably why they're getting bombed by Israel, because the U.S. is in the mix. What? Like, you're shocked. Blinken confirms the U.S. is in direct contact with Al-Qaeda-linked HTS. Of course they are. And so, I mean, because the CIA has been doing this the whole time, they might as well just admit it now. Blinken said Saturday the U.S. has been in direct contact with HTS, a U.S.-designated terror organization that grew out of Al-Qaeda in Syria and recently led the offensive that overthrew Assad. Yes, we have been in contact with HTS and other parties, Blinken said on Saturday, confirming earlier reports said the U.S. was talking to HTS. Our message to the Syrian people is this: we want them to succeed, and we're prepared to help them do it. So HTS is overseeing the new transitional government. Blinken and other U.S. officials have celebrated the ouster of Assad and made clear they're willing to work with Giuliani. Work him over, despite his past as an ISIS and Al-Qaeda leader. Yes, he's like trying to reform his image. He wants to get in good with the West, and the West is just going to use him. They're going to weaken him down, and then Israel's just going to, not. It's like when somebody is on all fours, right? And they're standing, they're right behind somebody who's standing, and then you push that person, and then they fall over the person who's on the ground on all fours. That's what they're doing. The U.S. is on the ground doing this, and Israel's about to push them over, but with bombs. Giuliani, who's been going by his real name, has been presenting himself as a moderate in an effort to gain support from the West and began a rebranding campaign in 2016. claiming his former group, the Nusra Front, was cutting ties with al-Qaeda. At the time, he thanked the commanders of al-Qaeda for having understood the need to break ties. Sometimes, it was a good run with the group, but, sometimes you got to fly solo, little bird. You got to leave the nest and, go murder people in a different club. In 2017, Jelani merged his group with several other Islamist factions to form HTS, which the U.S. State Department designated as a foreign terrorist organization in 2018. The U.S. also placed a $10 million bounty on Giuliani's head. Probably easy to go get it now. Right? That's what Israel's going to do. Israel wants that $10 million. The Biden administration is reportedly considering removing the terror designation from HTS, which would allow the U.S. to provide significant aid to an HTS-led government. Blinken released a statement a few days ago outlining conditions for U.S. support. The United States reaffirms its full support for a Syrian-led and Syrian-owned political transition. This transition process should lead to credible, inclusive, and non-sectarian governance that meets international standards of transparency and accountability, Blinken said. And then he turned back into his lizard form and ate a child. While the U.S. is flexible with HTS's designation, it frequently points to the terror designations of groups like Hamas and Hezbollah to justify Israeli attacks that slaughter huge numbers of civilians. Bingo, bango, bongo. So of course, U.S. is in the mix in all this. We knew the CIA was helping with the coup, and then the years of sanctions, and then the invasions. It was bound to happen. And HTS is just too weak. They're just too weak. And now they don't have any. With Israel taking out all of their weapons, they're just. It's just lip service now. They got nothing to back it up. But of course, in Syria, you got the Kurds and the Turkish mixing it up. Both proxies, by the way, infighting, if you will. U.S. assures Syrian Kurdish SDF after Turkish foreign minister says goal is to wipe them out. This is from Jason Ditz. Again, at antiwar.com. It's been a wild 72 hours for the Kurdish-dominated SDF forces in Syria's northeast after substantial fighting over the city of Manbij and a 4-day truce conditioned entirely on the SDF removing themselves and their families from the area. The relative stability in Syrian northeast seems more tenuous than it's been in years. Secretary of State Blinken was in Turkey Friday to meet with Foreign Minister Hakan Fidan, with the talks including considerable discussion on post-Assad Syria. Just hours later, Fidan made a live TV broadcast in which he declared that Turkey's strategic goal was the elimination of YPG. Yeah, you know me. YPG is the Kurdish group, which is by far the largest component of the U.S.-backed SDF. Fidan's broadcast suggests that his Blinken meeting didn't go well. None of those meetings ever go well if you're with Blinken, at least as far as the SDF would be concerned since that Friday meeting and broadcast, though U.S. officials have been in continuous talks with the SDFs trying to reassure them that they don't really face an existential threat from Turkey and its allies. Come on, guys. I know we told you, boo, gobble, 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 but we were talking about a bird. We were talking about the country, you silly biscuits. I can't take you anywhere. That's clearly delicious. That's clearly a reassurance that the SDF would desperately need, now after not just Fidan's broadcast, but consistent fighting with the new Syrian government's forces since the ouster of Assad. That fighting has already apparently cost them Manbij. ISIS took over Manbij in 2014, and the SDF took the city, allowing the return of displaced Kurds to the city and surrounding areas in 2016. Turkey has been trying to get the Kurds out of Manbij since 2018. This past week's ceasefire deal apparently has accomplished that. Turkey has long had a problem with the de facto U.S. alliance with the YPG, and by extension the SDF. Turkey considers the YPG to be a direct offshoot of the PKK, a banned organization considered terrorists inside Turkey. The PKK and the YPG do have ideological commonalities, and there is a relationship, but many have said Turkey overstates how closely related they actually are. Jesus Christ, talk about the three-letter agencies. Either way, it seems like the deal and evacuation of Manbij is not the end of this for the SDF, despite U.S. reassurances. The U.S. reportedly has reminded the SDF that Turkish President Erdogan and U.S. President-elect Donald Trump are palsies. They're all like, hanging out and shit. Erdogan did indeed refer to Trump as a friend and embraced his re-election last month. Their relationship has hardly been smooth, though, and they sparred over multiple issues, including Turkey's purchase of Russian air defense systems. The ceasefire seems likely to last however long it ends up taking to get the Kurds out of Manbij, but that's just a stepping stone in Turkey's ambitions in the region, though, and more fighting seems like virtually a foregone conclusion. Turkey's decision to back the Islamist HTS is taking over Syria from Assad was, after all, in no small measure because Turkey has long believed a Syria dominated by Sunni Arabs would keep the Kurdish minority from having autonomy. This is just a continuation of more than a decade of strategic decisions, as U.S. reassurances that it's not a real threat flies in the face of all the evidence. And also, the United States be some checks, notes, lying mofos. So HTS officials order Palestinian resistance factions to disarm, close bases in Syria. We kind of briefly mentioned that earlier. Representatives from HTS informed the representatives of the Palestine factions in Syria they would no longer be allowed to possess any weapons, training camps, or military headquarters. Ibrahim Amin of Al-Akbar reported on December 13th. That was Friday. Amin further reports that the factions must dissolve their military formations as soon as possible in exchange for political and charitable work under the roof of the new Syrian state. Palestinian factions, including Fatah, the Popular Front for the Liberation of Palestine, that's the PFLP, and the Popular Front for the Liberation of Palestine General Command, just add a GC to that last one, the Saika, and Palestinian Islamic Jihad, the PIJ, Martyr Ali Aswad Brigade have had a presence in Syria as guests of the government for decades. A source in the PFLP GC revealed to Aram News that the factions were informed of the decision in meeting headed by Ahmed al-Shara, also known as Abu Muhammad al-Julani. You know that guy. You've seen him before. He opened for Shecky Green in Las Vegas back in the 70s. In the Yarmouk Palestinian refugee camp in the capital, Damascus. Palestinians came to Syria as refugees during the 1948 Nakba. That year, pre-state Zionist militias ethnically cleansed some 750,000 Palestinians from the land that became the state of Israel, making them refugees in neighboring countries. Many Palestinian refugees settled in Syria. In the Yarmouk camp on the southern outskirts of Damascus, the camp became the capital of the Palestinian diaspora. The Palestinian factions formed armed resistance groups and provided manpower for the Palestinian Liberation Army, the PLA, which served as an auxiliary to the Syrian army. Amin notes that the practical result of these steps taken by HTS, led by former al-Qaeda leader Julani, who now goes, we know he goes by his real name, Shura, the artist formerly known as Julani, is that the Palestinians are prohibited from using Syria as a headquarters or passage for any activity against Israel. In 2012, the predecessor to HTS, the Nusra Front, invaded and occupied Yarmouk, seeking to use it as the gateway to conquer Damascus. The camp was largely destroyed over the following years in the course of the fighting. ISIS also occupied the camp and fought against the Syrian army and Palestinian factions there. Amin says that although the new Syrian government does not talk about establishing relations with Israel, its representatives talk about taking practical steps to prevent any existing or potential resistance against Israel from Syrian territory. He writes that Israel may seek to force the Lebanese government to take similar actions against Palestinian factions in the refugee camps in Lebanon. Yeah, so, so the only ones right now who are A-okay to stay is the Russians. But everybody else, anybody who's even had any kind of positive links that don't have nukes. See, because Russia has nukes, they're not going to boot them out. But everybody else, you got to get the fuck out. So it is still just very chaotic in Syria right now. In fact, it's so fucked up. There's a Syrian village that acts to be annexed by Israel. They're already just like, look, just take the land. Here you go. It's fucking, propaganda and fear just controlling people. The southern Syrian village of Hayder, nice name, has reportedly requested to be incorporated in the Israel-occupied part of the Golan Heights, according to the Times of Israel. The outlet cited an unverified video where a member of the Druze community expressed concerns over the future of his people. I know, right? God! Bashar al-Assad's government fell last week after opposition forces, led by HTS, the thing, took control of Damascus. In a video posted on the Tweeters Friday that features captions in English, a Hayder resident claiming to be a representative of the Druze people, an esoteric ethno-religious group, urged a large crowd to consider what their future would be like. The village is located within the buffer zone between Israel and Syria, which IDF troops entered last week. If we have to choose, we will choose the lesser evil. Oh, see... They fell for the trap. You still chose evil. You still chose evil. He said, and even if it's considered evil to ask to be annexed to the Israeli Golan, it's a much lesser evil than the evil coming our way, the man added, apparently referring to HTS, which was formed, So I guess this guy knows HTS. If you know Israel's evil, and you're like, all right, these motherfuckers are evil, but them haters, man, no thank you, sir or madam. That evil might take our women, might take our daughters, they might take our houses. Well, that's what Israel's going to do, stupid, he said, pleading for the Syrian Druze to be freed from the injustice and oppression that had been imposed on them in the past and could be imposed again by Islamist rebel groups. We have asked to be annexed to the Golan to preserve our dignity, the man who claimed to speak on behalf of the Druze community across the surrounding area of the Kunitra Governorate said, we ask in the name of all the surrounding area to join our people in the Golan and to live with freedom and dignity like our people are living in Israel. Around 48% of Syria's Druze resided in the Suwaida Governorate, some 90 kilometers from the border with Israel prior to the Civil War. The Times of Israel reported, citing a 2010 census. Since then, however, it's believed that many of them have fled the region for safer parts of the country. That whole area is just changing right before our eyes, right? And just Syria, I don't know if we'll ever find out what really happened behind the scenes with Syria, right? We know the military laid down, but, well, I don't know if we'll ever know the real reason they did. And so, meanwhile, in Iraq, these guys are not fucking around either with this new HTS. Iraqi Prime Minister awaits actions, not words from Syrian Transitional Council. Prime Minister Mohammed Shia al-Sudani stressed that Iraq is waiting for actions, not words, from those in charge of managing the transitional phase in Syria during the visit of U.S. Secretary Blinken to Baghdad last Friday. Sudani stressed the importance of forming a government that reflects the will of the Syrian people and the diversity of its components. The HTS capture of Damascus has caused concern among the country's Christian, Alawite, and Druze communities. They fear the radical Sunni Salafists from HTS will endanger the existence of religious minorities in the country. The Iraqi Prime Minister also stressed the necessity of not allowing any aggression on Syrian territory from any party, stressing that this represents a threat to security and stability in the region. Since HTS came to power in Damascus, Israel has obliterated the country's military infrastructure and weapons. As we told you, 70-80% of the weapons, if not more now, through their mass bombing campaign. They occupied additional Syrian territory in the Golan Heights and Kenitra. Sudani expressed Iraq's supportive stance towards Syria at this important stage and the importance of friendly countries helping the Syrians rebuild their country and confront the challenges that may affect civil peace there. Like we said, there's two factions in Iraq itself. You have the Iraqi government, and then you have the Iraqi resistance. Now, the Iraqi resistance is the one that's been helping Hamas and Lebanon, but the Iraqi government is staying out of it, right? For the most part. The U.S. State Department said during this meeting with the Iraqi Prime Minister, Blinken stressed the U.S. commitment to Iraq's security, stability, and sovereignty. That means U.S. troops. We can put troops back in there. And they're like, no troops. According to the U.S. State Department, Blinken discussed with the Iraqi Prime Minister ongoing efforts to prevent the resurgence of ISIS and to prevent destabilization of the region. However, U.S. and allied intelligence agencies have long supported ISIS and used its presence in eastern Syria and western Iraq to justify the presence of U.S. troops in both countries. Yeah, so that's the thing. It's like, we're going to go after ISIS, but, we've been supporting ISIS. It's not a secret anymore. I don't even know why they're even trying to pretend like that's a thing. U.S. support for ISIS was crucial in helping the terror group conquer and occupy Mosul, Iraq's second largest city, in June 2014. The U.S. close ally, Kurdish leader Masoud Barzani, helped ISIS commit genocide against the Yazidi religious minority in the Sinjar district 2 months later in August 2014. On Friday, the Popular Mobilization Units, PMU, in Iraq urged the importance of learning lessons from what happened in neighboring countries and what happened in Iraq in 2014. Oh, you are so precious. That people ain't learning lessons. But that's nice of you to imply that they should. And they should, really, but they're not gonna. I just don't want to disappoint you. Just like Dad when he went out for cigarettes. See, that joke came around back later. That's what we call in the biz a callback. The head of the PMU, Faleh al-Fayyad, stressed the necessity of preparing to confront the enemy's plans that may take different forms, urging preparation and learning lessons from what happened in neighboring countries and what happened in Iraq in 2024. In a speech he delivered at the Anbar Operations Command Headquarters on Friday, Fayyad stressed that Iraq is preparing for any field possibilities while expressing concern for the people of Iraq and their achievements in light of the developments in Syria. Noting that Iraq today is not the same as Iraq in 2014, Not since they got that drive-through, man. Boy, that was a game changer. He stressed that we will not allow any harm to our land or the sovereignty of our country. We will spare no effort in deterring anyone who dares to harm Iraq's security, he said. Meanwhile, rights groups are urging the Iraqi government to halt secret executions. That's the spin-off show to the Secret Show, where we bring on people and we talk about butt plugs, but then we put them in guillotines. And then, well, you know the thing. Oh, sweet liquor in the morning. Don't mind if I do. Rights organizations and activists on Thursday urged the Iraqi authorities to immediately halt secret executions and torture of prisoners on death row in the country. In recent years, Iraqi courts have allegedly ordered hundreds of executions in terror cases, proceedings that rights groups have say often lack due process or in which confessions suspected to have been extracted through torture are admissible. In a joint statement Thursday, 5 rights groups and 2 activists called on the Iraqi government to immediately halt the secret executions and torture that prisoners are being subjected to. They urged investigations into unlawful executions and suspicious deaths in custody, as well as ensuring that prisoners in the country's Syria prison are treated with respect for their dignity. Several rights groups have previously criticized the poor conditions in the facility, widely dubbed Al-Hut prison, meaning the whale in Arabic, because it is believed those who enter do not come out alive. Yikes. Human Rights Watch in November accused Iraq's authorities of widening the scale and pace of unlawful executions in 2024, calling on them to urgently halt all pending executions and declare a moratorium. It said at the time that about 8,000 people were believed to be on death row in Iraq. The statement on Thursday said prisoners were underfed. Underfed. Oh my God. I just said underfed. I am so fucking stupid. Underfed. All right, that's probably, somebody should probably clip that. And often gives expired food as well as water unfit for drinking. The signatories underfed. Jesus Christ. The signatories called for providing health care to the inmates, citing the spread of tuberculosis among prisoners. I mean, in all honesty, it really should be like a space between that, between under and fed. All right, and somebody, please. I feel bad enough already. French lawyer Olfa Oled, meanwhile, told AFP, all my clients of Iraqi nationality were sentenced to death on the basis of confessions extracted under torture and following summary trials. Hey, that sounds like some American shit. She insisted they were innocent, urging the authorities to release them without delay. Underfed. No, don't. Yeah, you can't underfed. She insisted they were innocent, urging the authorities to release them without delay. This would do justice not only to the victims of these arbitrary sentences and their families, but also to the families of the victims who have lost their loved ones without the real culprits being brought to justice, she said. Some 50 people were executed in September on various charges, including terrorism, according to AFAD, an independent group monitoring rights violations in Iraq, and one of the signatories of Thursday's statement. In June, AFAD condemned what is described as a surge in secret executions, pointing to 63 such cases that were not publicly announced in previous weeks. So secret executions were hot off the griddle. And like I said, this is the puppet government that's, playing nice with the United States. So I'm pretty sure they probably have some IDF trained prison personnel there. So they ain't exactly Boy Scouts. Meanwhile, Israel's got to also think about bombing the shit out of the people that came in on hang gliders. Israel bombards schools and homes in Gaza day after Nusrat massacre. Israel is still attacking homes and schools across the Gaza Strip, killing and injuring several people just one day after dozens were massacred in a strike on Nusrat camp. Dawn raids on Saturday killed 4 members of the Sadallah family in their home in Jabalia, 2 people in a school northeast of Gaza City, and 1 person sheltering in a tent south of Khan Yunis, Palestinian news agency Wafa said. Later that day, the military killed 7 people in a strike on Al-Majida Wasila school in the northern Al-Rimal neighborhood west of Gaza City, according to Wafa. The news agency also reported a drone attack on a group of civilians at the Jallah junction northwest of Gaza City, excuse me, which killed 1 woman and injured several others. Another civilian was killed in an airstrike west of Al-Nusrat camp. A further 5 citizens were injured in a drone attack on the Al-Mawasi area west of Rafah City. The attacks took place just one day after Israel killed at least 36 people, most from al-Sheikh Ali family in the Nusrat refugee camp, leading to a widespread condemnation. In northern Gaza, which has been under an even tighter siege over the past 2 months, Israeli forces blew up buildings and burned dozens of homes in and around Beit Lahia while firing at Kamal Adwan Hospital, according to Wafa. Reporting from Deir al-Balah, Al Jazeera's Tariq Abu Azum mentioned stepped up overnight attacks on Kamal Adwan Hospital near Beit Lahia the previous day, which saw medical staff injured and an ambulance set ablaze. The Israeli military, he said, was trying to take ambulance out of service. Ambulances, multiple. At the same time, they're trying to exert more pressure on medical teams who are still trapped in Kamal Adwan Hospital, he said. The director of the hospital's intensive care unit was killed in a drone strike last month. Abu Azum also said Jabalia, Beit Lahia, and Beit Hanun in the north of the Strip were under constant attack by the Israeli ground forces, which have continued operations for more than 17 days so far. Israel has imposed a total siege on several neighborhoods in northern Gaza, prompting accusations that it's pushing to permanently displace Palestinians and ethnically cleanse the area. Muhannad Hadi, United Nations humanitarian coordinator for the occupied Palestinian territory, decried in a statement on Friday the rapidly deteriorating security and humanitarian situation in Gaza. In recent days, multiple strikes across the Gaza Strip have resulted in scores of reported fatalities and numerous injuries. Women and children continue to be among the casualties. Such incidents are further reminders of the unbearable human cost of the conflict. Yeah. So that's all, like we said, it all goes back to the greater Israel plan and expanding territory. And what happens after that, one's not sure. Hey, Ellen, good to see you. I saw your thing on the Facebooks. You're doing a show with the Due Distance characters. Is that right? All right, you watch out. Those guys are unclean. They're dirty, and you're a sweet angel. So you'll keep them in line, though. That's good. It's good to see you. Also, in the Israelis' greatest hits, literally, Israeli attack on a school turned shelter in southern Gaza kills 20. On Sunday night, an Israeli strike on a school sheltering displaced people in southern Gaza. No, it's Hamas. Killed at least 20 Palestinians, including children, as the daily U.S.-backed slaughter continues. According to the Palestinian news agency Wafa, the strike hit a UN-run school in western Khan Yunis near the Nasser Medical Complex. The breakdown of the casualties is unclear, but photos and videos of the aftermath show children, as always, among the dead and wounded. So, like we said before, the attack on Beit Hanun, that killed at least 15. Among the dead was a family of 4, including 2 children. They also targeted Gaza's Nusrat, the refugee camp, as we told you, killing a journalist and 5 civil defense workers. According to Al Jazeera, the strike targeted the headquarters for the local civil defense rescue workers. The journalist Ahmed Al-Lu, a cameraman for Al Jazeera, was killed while wearing a press vest and helmet. The report said Al-Lu was the third journalist to be killed within 24 hours. According to Gaza's government media office, the death of Al-Lu brings the total number of journalists killed by Israeli attacks in Gaza to 196. Gaza's health ministry said its daily death toll update. Jesus Christ, they have a daily death toll update. Of course they do. Which it released about midday Gaza time, that at least 46 Palestinians were killed and another 135 were wounded in the previous 24-hour period. The ministry only counts dead and wounded Palestinians brought to hospitals and morgues. And of course, there's plenty more under the rubble that maybe someday in 100 years they will get to. Yes, Ellen says, screening my immigration documentary, The Second Cooler, and encore screening. Well, you got a wrench, dear. Drop a link for that. Put a link in the chat, okay? Put a link in the chat. We'll let all the kids share that, okay? Yeah, so what are we gonna what's gonna happen? What's it gonna take to stop Israel, right? From this expansion. It very much mirrors what happened in Nazi Germany at this point, right? These countries, these surrounding countries, are becoming weakened either through coups or some sort of disruption in the governments, and they're bringing these in these weak sauce caretakers, and Israel can just, pick apart Syria to its heart's content, and nobody's going to stop them. Because even the country is like, well, we don't want to fight them, but can somebody else fight them too? That just sounds crazy. And if that's not bad enough in the West Bank, Israel to deploy automated weapons in that area of Israel, as we just said, the West Bank. I didn't want to be redundant, but too late. The Israeli military is preparing to deploy remotely controlled automated weapons across occupied West Bank checkpoints to target Palestinians, according to a report by the Israeli Army radio on Sunday. The system, named Ro Yoreh Seafires, is an advanced weaponry structure developed by Rafael Advanced Defense Systems, or RADS. That's better than Roef or Yorah. I mean, that's, if we're talking marketing, if you're going to marketing, some sort of death device, at least have it roll off the tongue. It includes a tower with sophisticated surveillance equipment and a remote-controlled lethal fire mechanism. Since its introduction into the Israeli military arsenal in 2008, the system has been exclusively used in Gaza, along with all the other weapons they test, where it was deployed along the security fence to target Palestinians approaching the barrier, or just doing absolutely nothing. According to Army radio, the move to use the system in the West Bank comes despite its limited effectiveness in repelling the Hamas-led October 7 attacks out of Gaza. Oh, there we go. This is the screening on the Due Distance podcast. Is that that's tonight at 8 p.m.? Is that right? Yeah, so the one above is that's the Rumble link. Okay. Very good. We just want to make sure our pals, get the shout outs, and that's what this show's about, getting information out. According to Army Radio, the move to use the system in the West Bank comes despite its limited effectiveness in repelling the... so they used it on October 7th, and it didn't work then either. Yeah, they'll probably end up... Hamas will end up picking them apart and using them for parts. In the early hours of the assault, Hamas used drones to hit the tower-mounted weapons, disabling them with ease and allowing fighters to cross the boundary into Israel. So all you got to do is knock out the towers and these things. It's like the robot dogs. The robot dogs in New York. When I saw that, people were terrified of the robot dog. I said, you really terrified of that robot dog? That robot dog I'm not scared of. The ones in, Black Mirror, The ones that can run like 90, 100 miles an hour. Yeah, no, I'm scared of those. But they ain't here yet. So, but these dogs, I mean, just trip them. And what is he going to do? He ain't going to do nothing. The Israeli military plans to deploy dozens of those systems in strategic locations across the West Bank, including settlement entrances and key control points, according to the report. The goal, it added, was to prevent armed attacks and infiltrations into illegal Israeli settlements. The manufacturing of these systems for the West Bank has already begun. Initially, they will be installed at high-risk locations by the Israeli military, with plans to expand deployment to additional sites. According to the report, the 636th Reconnaissance Unit of the West Bank Division will operate the systems amid rising Israeli concerns about growing security threats in the territory. Around 700,000 Israeli settlers live in roughly 300 illegal settlements in the West Bank and occupied East Jerusalem, which have been constructed since they were captured by Israel in the 1967 war. Under international law, settlement construction in an occupied territory is illegal. They've been doing it for years. Since Israel launched its war on Gaza in October last year, violence by the army and settlers against Palestinians in the West Bank has skyrocketed. At least 800 Palestinians from the West Bank have been killed by Israeli fire since the war began, with about 6,500 more wounded, according to the health officials there. Prop behave yourself. You know, there are better hills to die on. Okay. What's next? Oh, what are we doing here? So, meanwhile, the top Israeli rabbi in Israel is trying to keep the boys home, or at least the unemployed ones. Top Israeli rabbi urges unemployed Israelis not to join the military. A senior Israeli rabbi has drawn backlash over calling for unemployed Israelis not to join the military. Rabbi Yitzhak Yosef, the spiritual leader of the Shah's party, a key ally of the Israeli government, said even an idle person should not join the army. In statements to Israel's Channel 13, the former Sephardi chief said that all religious school students were ruined after joining the army. They all became secular, Yosef explained. Well, yeah, because the army's a bunch of evil fucking, psychopaths. The Shah's party represents religious Jews in the government and has been pushing for exemptions to be placed for the ultra-Orthodox Jews, or Haredi, as they say their primary role in life is to study the Torah. The compliments have drawn critique within Israel's political system. Israeli Prime Minister Fuckface, who is wanted by the ICC in connection to alleged war crimes and crimes against humanity committed by Israel in Gaza, said the comments were unacceptable and deserving of complete condemnation, adding that any remarks of refusing to join the army will not be tolerated. Benny Gantz, leader of the National Unity Party, described the statements as dangerous and unlawful. Everyone must serve the state. See, look at that. Boy, they should put that on a t-shirt. And then his head, like the little Earl Scheib head where it's just his head and nothing. Yeah, so if I can make money off that, I'd do it. Probably. I ain't gonna lie. At the same time, Israel's President Isaac Herzog said he strongly rejects any call for refusal, absence, and non-volunteering. Of course. Well, why don't you do it? Get in there, buddy. The spokesperson for the Shah's party, Asher Medina, has reportedly responded to Yosef's statement, saying his comments did not contain a call for refusal to serve. Rabbi Yosef's remarks were aimed at highlighting the essential need to provide suitable frameworks for ultra-Orthodox youth who wish to enlist, Medina said, according to Israeli media. All Israelis over the age of 18 are required to be conscripted into the army for at least a year. Palestinian but not Druze citizens are exempted, including religious, physical, or psychological grounds. Ultra-Orthodox Jews were initially exempted on religious grounds. It was not until the Israeli Supreme Court in June ruled that the Haredi were required to be drafted that the Israeli army began sending notices to be drafted following the state's war on Gaza. The decision spurred widespread condemnation from the religious factions and protests against it. So they're still holding out too, and you see these videos too of these Hasidic Jews who are getting, and the IDF is like, treating them like Palestinians. It's crazy. It's crazy. I mean, there's probably going to be some sort of civil war in Israel too at some point, and then Israel's just going to be no more. Hopping over to Africa as we go to Libya. The key Libya oil refinery halts operations after clashes. So they've been having a time with this, with their oil production there. A key oil refinery in western Libya suspended operations after armed clashes erupted early yesterday, causing fires in several storage units, the state petrol company said. Libya's national oil company, the NOC, declares a force majeure, fancy pants, because several Zawiya refinery storage tanks sustained significant damage from gunfire that led to serious fires. Videos posted on social media showed several burning oil tanks at the refinery in Zawiya, some 45 kilometers west of the capital, Tripoli. It's the only refinery supplying the local market with fuel products. Of course it is. This damage is a direct consequence of armed clashes using light and medium weapons in the refinery's vicinity, the NOC statement said. It said that despite the clashes continuing, emergency personnel were able to bring the fires and gas leaks under control and limit the spread of danger. News sites in Libya reported 1 person dead and 10 wounded in the clashes, although there was no official confirmation of the toll. All of the fires in the refinery storage units that were hit in the clashes have been brought under control, NOC spokesman Khalid Ghulam said on Libya Al-Harar television. We can assure the citizens of Zawiya and Tripoli that fuel supplies in the Brega Oil Distribution Company's tanks is secure, and that petrol deliveries to service stations will continue without disruptions. The Zawiya refinery, built in 1974, is Libya's second largest, with a refining capacity of more than 120,000 barrels per day. Zawiya city is the third largest in Libya's Tripolitania region. Ooh, that sounds like some Narnia shit. After the capital and Misrata, it has seen fierce clashes between armed factions. In May, fighting between rival groups killed 1 person and wounded 12 before tribal chiefs and other notables intervened. Sunday's fighting prompted the closure of classes in all schools and at Zawiya University, that's my alma mater, the official Libyan news agency reported. The coast road linking the city to Tripoli has reopened after being closed until the early morning. The state of force majeure, I love that, invoked in exceptional circumstances, allows the NOC exemption from liability in the event it cannot comply with oil delivery contracts. Libya has Africa's most abundant hydrocarbon reserves, but is struggling to recover from years of conflict after the 2011 NATO-backed uprising. You remember that one? Turned it in an open-air prison that overthrew longtime dictator Muammar Gaddafi. There have been frequent blockades of oil installations, often because of social demands or political disputes. However, thanks to calmer security conditions and new investment, production, which had hovered over a decade at around 1.2 million barrels per day, had risen to 1.4 barrels per day in early December. Pre-uprising output was between 1.5 million and 1.6 million BPD. All that Earl. Yeah, so. Meanwhile, over in Niger, the ministry says 39 have been killed in attacks near the Burkina Faso. 2 horrific tragedies happened in the communities of Libiri and Kokorou. Criminals cornered by constant operations by defense and security forces launched attacks on defenseless civilian populations. That was according to the defense ministry. The barbaric act saw 21 people killed in Liberi and 18 in Kokurou, including children. It's always children. Children always get killed in these things, right? That's why we should never have wars, because it always kills kids. The operation took place from December 12th through the 14th. The statement said, without detailing when specifically the attacks happened. The communities are located in the Terra border region, an area teeming with fighters which had been subjected to particularly bloody jihadist attacks in recent days. The frontier lands between Niger, Mali, and Burkina Faso have long been a hideout for jihadists looking to the Islamic State group and Al-Qaeda, who have waged insurgent war against the government. One of the latest attacks saw gunmen kill 21 civilians in an assault on a goods convoy. On Wednesday, both the BBC and RFI reported that jihadists had killed 90 soldiers and over 40 civilians in Terra's Chadamain. Niger's junta dismissed reports of the attack and deaths as baseless assertions and a campaign of intoxication. Look, I know a campaign of intoxication, pal. Several campaigns in my lifetime. But that ain't it. Although AFP was unable to verify those numbers from an independent local source, a Western security source told AFP that 90 to 100 people died in Tuesday's attack. The military government suspended BBC Radio for 3 months following its report, the latest in a slew of Western media to be sanctioned by the junta since it seized power in July coup of 2023. So checking in with our buddies in South Korea and their fucked up president. Oops, somebody's gonna get gone to court. Here we go. South Korea Parliament impeaches President Yoon. Look at him, he looks pissed. South Korean Parliament has voted to impeach President Yoon Suk-yeol over his brief imposition of martial law last week. The National Assembly voted 204 to 85 in support of the measure on Saturday, above the required threshold of 200. All 300 members of the legislature were in attendance for the secret ballot, but 3 abstained and 8 ballots were declared invalid. The decision by the National Assembly means that Yoon is automatically suspended from the office. So that means he don't get to call when he quits. They just quit him. They said, "You're fired. Get out. Nobody wants you here anymore. Get out. You're fired." South Korean Constitutional Court now has 180 days, or about 6 months, to rule on the president's removal from the post. During this period, Prime Minister Han Duck-soo will act as the country's interim president. This is a victory for the South Korean people and for democracy, Park Chan-dae, the floor leader of the main opposition Democratic Party, said after the impeachment vote. Yoon survived a first impeachment attempt last Saturday when his People's Power Party boycotted the vote. However, the Triple P changed its stance this week after its efforts to persuade the president to step down voluntarily failed. "We try to find a better way than impeachment, but that other way is invalid," party leader Han Dong-hoon said. "Suspending the president from his duties through impeachment is the only way, for now, to defend democracy and the republic." Political crisis in South Korea erupted on December 3rd when Yoon delivered a surprise televised address. "Surprise, martial law! No, it's not what you wanted, but you're welcome." Declaring emergency martial law on the grounds that the opposition, which he accused of being sympathetic towards North Korea, had allegedly been preparing a rebellion. Within hours, 190 lawmakers who managed to access the National Assembly despite military cordons voted unanimously to lift the decree. Thousands of people took to the streets to condemn the president's actions. Less than 6 hours after imposing martial law, the head of state announced that he had decided to retract his decision. During his address on Thursday, Yoon, who faces an investigation over possible insurrection, defended his move, calling the declaration of martial law a highly calibrated political judgment. Not a good judgment, though. It was aimed to protect the nation from the opposition's attempts to block the work of the government, he said. I will stand firm, giggity. Whether I am impeached or investigated, I will fight to the end, the president pledged. Wow. Poor South Korea, right? Have to deal with this knucklehead. And that's not all. So he flouts his summons amid the martial law probe. So South Korean South Korean President Yoon failed to comply on Sunday with a summons from the prosecutors, according to Yonhap News Agency. They reportedly plan to issue another order today amid an ongoing investigation into his brief imposition of martial law. The summons was issued on Wednesday. Yoon was summoned to appear for questioning at 10 a.m. local time Sunday, but did not attend. Yoon and senior military officials are facing potential charges of treason, insurrection, abuse of authority, and obstructing people from exercising their rights. He was impeached on Saturday. And we told you about when it started and all that. Yeah, so he didn't even show up for his own thing. Good times. So, we've been in Okinawa this whole time, one of the islands of Japan. The whole, the whole with the flags and stuff, the things. Now we're finally getting out. So, U.S. starts relocating Marines from Japan's Okinawa. U.S. has begun relocating thousands of Marines from the Japanese island of Okinawa. Tokyo and Washington said Saturday, after decades of mounting grievances among locals over America's military presence. In 2012, the U.S. said it would redeploy 9,000 Marines from the island, where communities complain bases are an unfair burden, with objections ranging from pollution, because yes, military bases are very polluting. Camp Lejeune, anyone? And to noise and helicopter crashes. The relocation began with a small detachment of approximately 100 logistics support Marines transferred to the U.S. island territory of Guam. That was according to Japan's Defense Ministry and the U.S. Marine Corps. Commencement of relocation to Guam signifies the first phase of relocating Marines to locations outside of Japan, said the joint statement. There are currently around 19,000 Marines in Okinawa, strategically located east of Taiwan, which has become a flashpoint for tensions between the U.S. and China. Beijing claims Taiwan as part of its territory and has not ruled out the use of force to bring the self-ruled island under its control. Washington is Taiwan's most important backer and biggest supplier of arms, but has long maintained strategic ambiguity about the prospect of backing it with boots on the ground. The 9,000 relocating Marines are set to be moved elsewhere in the Pacific, to Guam, Hawaii, or Australia, according to the U.S. Okinawa comprises just 0.6% of Japan's territory, but hosts more than half of the 50,000 U.S. troops posted in the country. The 1995 gang rape of a 12-year-old girl, by 3 U.S. servicemen in Okinawa also prompted widespread backlash, with calls for a rethink of the 1960 Pact, allowing the U.S. to post soldiers in Japan. Excuse me. One moment, please. Had a little tickle. So yeah, finally getting out of there. But not real. Are they really, though? Are they really getting out of there? Thai police arrest 2 after deadly bomb attack at a festival. This is in Thailand. Authorities in Thailand have arrested 2 men following a blast at a festival near the border with Myanmar that killed 3 people and wounded dozens. One moment, please. I am so ill-prepared. I apologize. I am a bad uncle. Bad uncle. Thai police said an improvised explosive device, or an IED, had been thrown into a crowd on a dance floor at a crowded festival in Yumphang district in Thailand's northern Tak province just before midnight on Friday. The explosion killed 2 people instantly, with another dying later in the hospital, and 48 left injured among the approximately 8,000 to 9,000 attending the event. Police said a Thai youth and a man belonging to the Karen National Union, really, Karen? A rebel group fighting for autonomy in neighboring Myanmar's Karen state, had been arrested. Oh my God, there's a whole Karen state? That can't be real. Tak Police Chief Major General Samrit Ekamol said the Myanmar suspect had thrown the bomb after encountering a rival gangster he had previously fought with. But a senior KNU official contacted by the AFP news agency, who declined to be named as he was not authorized to speak to media, denied any involvement and said the group did not have any members in the area. Thanathip Sawangsang, a spokesperson for the Military of Defense, told the Associated Press that local police had reported a fight between rival groups of men before the explosion and that there was no wider security threat. He said the forensic evidence showed the explosive device was a homemade bomb. Tak province has a heavy military presence in its border areas, including in Umphang. Prime Minister Patagon Tarn Shinawatra expressed her condolences to the victims' families and urged security agencies to carry out an investigation. I'm glad I do not work in the Thai press because I could not pronounce any of them names. Australia denies Israel's soldiers' entry, asks about potential role in war crimes. So Australia, look at them putting on their big boy panties. 2 Israeli soldiers have been denied entry into Australia after being required to fill out a document regarding their roles in war crimes amid growing international awareness of the Israeli occupation army's genocide in the Gaza Strip. So you can't go to Australia if you're an Israeli soldier unless you fill out your genocide form. How many genocides did you do? Just round up. According to the Israeli newspaper Ynet News, 2 Israeli siblings, 24-year-old Omer Berger and 22-year-old Ella Berger, applied for visas to Australia 2 months ago along with their family members. While the other family members had their visa applications swiftly approved, Omar and Ella were required to complete a 13-page form demanded of military personnel fighting in a conflict, as they both currently served in Israel's occupation military. The form reportedly includes questions regarding their involvement in physical or psychological abuse, their roles as guards or officials in detention facilities, and whether they had participated in war crimes or genocide. Hey, you do any war crimes? Put it on the paper there. Neither Omer nor Ella Berger received any response from Australian authorities prior to their scheduled departure, according to reports leading the sister to return to Israel, while the brother remained in Thailand awaiting a response. The incident comes as calls to hold Israeli occupation soldiers accountable for possible war crimes and human rights abuses in the besieged Gaza Strip, especially amid the charges levied against the Israeli government and military officials in international courts, including the ICC. Australia has apparently distanced itself from any perception that it is scrutinizing Israeli military personnel and their roles in the Gaza genocide, however. According to Australia's Department of Home Affairs, no special treatment has been shown to Israeli citizens throughout the ongoing conflict, with a spokesperson reportedly highlighting that 11,000 visas for Israelis had been approved over the past year and insisting that such a long form about war crimes is simply routine procedure, which is sometimes requested for individual applications. Yeah, I remember I was trying to get a job at Wendy's, and they said, yeah, we're going to need to know how many genocides you did there, Bob, before we continue this process. Also, where do you see yourself in 5 years? I bet it's genocide, you motherfucker. What's up, Amber, over on the Facebooks, holding it down? Good morning to you, you little pork chop nomity nom noms. I love me some pork chops. Oh, I love those Chinese. The Chinese do the pork chops, and they put like this glaze on there, and it's yum. I want some pork chops now. Thanks. Thanks for that. I blame you for all my problems in the world. So you know those drones in New Jersey? Zzz, flying around making people piss their pants. PP, PP. That's me. Now they can do it with German beer that make them pee their pants because unidentified drone spotted over Germany. German military industrial sites. Bum, ba-dum, bum, ba-dum, bum. That Chinese glaze is good, son. It's good. German authorities said Friday that unidentified drones had been spotted flying over sensitive military and industrial sites, including the U.S. Ramstein Air Base. I love the Ramstein Air Base, man. Such a great band, man, that bass player. The reports came after German officials have repeatedly voiced alarm about the threat of Russian spying as the Ukraine war heightens tensions between Moscow and NATO. And, you know, just a little side note, I think all this stuff is just going on to basically just scare the shit out of everybody on the planet. So we're all just like, and then the real shit start happening. However, police did not say who they thought had launched the unmanned aerial vehicles, or UAVs. In recent days, several drone flights have been detected over critical infrastructure in Rhineland-Palatinate state. A regional police spokesman told AFP the UAVs were first sighted at German company BASF's plant in Ludwigshafen, known as the world's biggest chemicals complex, the spokesman says. And all mayors of Ludwigshafen have to have those mustaches with handlebars on it. This was followed in the course of this week by drone overflights over the U.S. air bases in Ramstein. He said the drones were detected at dusk and were larger than the usual commercial hobby drones, the spokesman said. Police in Rhineland-Palatinate have set up a special investigative unit to look into the incidents. Unit, giggity. There is no concrete danger to the facilities concerned, the spokesman said. The sightings in Ramstein were on December 3rd and 4th, according to Der Spiegel magazine. Unidentified drones have also been sighted over facilities belonging to the German arms maker Rheinmetall, Der Spiegel reported, citing security services. A source with knowledge of the matter confirmed to AFP that suspicious drones had been spotted near Rheinmetall's largest ammunition production site at Unterlüß, Lower Saxony. I've been there. No, I've never been there. But in my mind, I've been everywhere. Unidentified drones were also reported in August over the Brunsbüttel industrial area in the northern state of Schleswig-Holstein. 9! I couldn't hold it back. I had to throw a 9 out there. Foreign Minister Annalena Baerbock at the time said the devices were surely not there to observe the beautiful local landscape, but because there's a chemical park there and a storage facility for nuclear waste nearby. Don't threaten me with a good time, lady. Media reports said officials believe those drones were Russian reconnaissance devices. However, investigations into Brunsbüttel sightings have so far shown no indications of espionage, according to a report from the ARD broadcaster on Friday. German officials have repeatedly raised the alarm in recent months about Russian spying and hybrid warfare, including acts of sabotage and disinformation in the campaign towards February general elections. And yes, we're gonna have more German stories in the future just for the pronunciations. I'm looking forward to that myself. You're welcome in advance. Like this one. Olaf Scholz sets Germany on course for early election as he requests confidence vote next week. I'm pretty sure they're going to say 9! What's he holding? Chancellor Olaf Scholz formally set Germany on course for an early election Wednesday by requesting a confidence vote in Parliament next week. I know that's Austrian because that sounds like Arnold, so I'm going to stop doing that. 5 weeks after his three-party governing coalition collapsed in a dispute over how to revitalize Germany's stagnant economy. Yeah, good job there, guys. You can't even keep your party together. How are you going to get the economy together? Schultz's office said he had requested the confidence vote in Parliament's lower house, or Bundestag, for Monday. That's today. The aim is to hold a parliamentary election on February 23rd, 7 months earlier than originally scheduled. Schultz is expected to lose Monday's vote. His center-left Social Democrats hold 207 seats in the Bundestag, and their remaining coalition partners, the Environmental Greens, have 117. That leaves his government well short of a majority in the 733-seat chamber. The confidence vote is needed because Germany's post-World War II constitution doesn't allow Parliament to dissolve itself. If Schultz loses the vote, it's up to President Frank-Walter Steinmeier to decide whether to dissolve the Bundestag. He has 21 days to make that decision, and once Parliament is dissolved, the election must be held within 60 days. Polls show Schultz's party trailing behind the main opposition center-right union bloc of challenger Friedrich Merz. Vice Chancellor Robert Habeck, whose Greens are further behind, is also bidding for the top job. Yeah, so how much hair does he have on top of his head? Nine. Yes. Again, I am 13 years old. I got to pull this down. Sorry. Oh, no. There we go. I was getting a little weird there. So the UK and their fuckery. Guess what? There's more. UK Prime Minister calls for maximum pain on Russia. Live at the Civic Center. Maximum pain with special guest Crocus. British Prime Minister Keir Starmer has called on his fellow G7 leaders to continue maximizing Putin's pain through economic sanctions on Russia and increased military aid to Ukraine. During a video conference Friday, the Prime Minister said that with Russian President Putin showing no sign of relenting, it is vital that we bolster our support to put Ukraine in the best possible position for the future, according to a readout released by his office. He called on fellow G7 leaders to continue maximizing Putin's pain by increasing military support to the Ukrainians and ramping up economic pressure, including via further sanctions. Where possible, the statement continued. 2 days earlier, the U.S. and U.K. announced a new round of sanctions on Moscow, targeting what the British government called Russia's illicit gold trade. Ooh, that sounds very James Bondish. At the same time, EU ambassadors agreed on a 15th package of economic penalties, this time targeting Russia's petroleum industry and Chinese companies allegedly producing drones for the Russian military. Repeated rounds of sanctions have failed to crater the Russian economy, as U.S. President Joe Biden predicted they would in 2022. Instead, the Russian economy grew by 3.6% this year, while Britain's grew by 1.1%. Insert womp womp. Womp womp, according to figures from the International Monetary Fund. That old bag, the old IMF. We learned a lot after the sanctions started, Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov told American journalist Tucker Carlson earlier this month. But what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. You know, they would never kill us, so they're making us stronger. Amid a historic decline in living standards at home, the UK has given £8.34 billion, that's $10.52 billion in American, in military aid to Ukraine since February 22, according to figures from Germany's Kiel Institute for the World Economy, or Kiwi, which tracks Western aid to Kiev. Starmer claimed last month that this outpouring of arms and ammunition will help the Ukrainians secure a just and lasting peace on their terms. However, the Kremlin has argued that any future peace terms will be worse for Ukraine than those rejected by Kiev during peace talks in Istanbul in April 2022. While Russia was prepared to settle the conflict in 2022, with Ukraine agreeing to stay out of NATO and grant autonomy to the regions of Donetsk and Lugansk, Kiev must now accept the realities on the ground, Lavrov told Carlson, referring to the fact that Donetsk, Lugansk, Kherson, and Zaporozhye are now parts of the Russian Federation and will not be ceded back to Ukraine. As they say, no take backsies. That Lavrov ain't playing, son. Britain is kind of like eating itself, like kind of like the United States is, right? Hang on a second. Oh, I needed more cushion for the pushing. So they're having inner strife as well, and their once vaunted British fleet, once the greatest in the world, folks, is deteriorating as well. Olaf Scholz lost a confidence vote today. Oh, so he lost it. All right. So Olaf is out. British destroyer fleet hits historic low. British Royal Navy's destroyer fleet has hit historic lows with only 2 of the 6 advanced vessels currently operational, right? The Telegraph reported on Saturday, citing the UK Ministry of Defense. It's like when you go to one of those really big gas stations and like only 4 of the pumps are working. 4 of the Type 45 destroyers are undergoing extensive repairs, maintenance, or other work in dock in Portsmouth, leaving the British fleet at its smallest size in over a century, the report says. The Type 45 destroyers, also known as the Daring class, form the backbone of the Royal Navy's air defense capabilities. Built for anti-aircraft and anti-missile warfare, the ships, however, have been facing various maintenance issues. One of the vessels has spent more time in repairs than in active service since its commissioning 12 years ago, the outlet said. The drastic decline in operational warships has raised concerns about the nation's security, with MPs warning that the UK is increasingly vulnerable to sea and air attacks. Well, if you were American, you wouldn't have to worry about it because, we just buying ships left and right, son. That's what we do, kid. These reports of only 2 operational destroyers are extremely concerning. Destroyers provide air defense and with only 2 destroyers, we simply cannot defend London, let alone the United Kingdom, MP, a member of the Defense Select Committee, Mike Martin, told the Telegraph. Additionally, of the Navy's 8 Type 23 frigates, a class below the destroyers, only 6 are currently operational. 6 out of 23 frigates. With just 8 out of 14 destroyers and frigates available for immediate deployment compared to more than 800 during the Navy's peak in 1945, the UK fleet has hit its lowest point since the destroyer program began under Queen Victoria. Oh, man, what a slam. Name-dropping Queen Vic. Earlier this month, British Ministry of Defense official Alistair admitted that the UK is not prepared to fight a war on a scale similar to the Ukraine conflict. He noted that in the event of an actual conflict, the UK would run out of soldiers in 6 months to a year. Damn! As of July, the British Army had just over 73,000 active duty soldiers, the lowest number since 1823. 200 years. The UK's overall population was around 20 million then and has since grown to 67 million. So the British Navy is pretty fucked. I think they're going to be relying too much on the United States. That they always have. Delicious. And as empires start to crumble like that, that's when the last gasp desperation shit happens. You might start seeing fucking nukes and shit like that. So I ain't trying to scare you. I'm just saying a cornered cat, man, will just do whatever to get out of that corner. Meanwhile, down in Brazil, Brazil's former defense minister has been arrested in an attempted coup. Love some coups, man. Coups are good. Love a good coup. Brazilian police have arrested a former defense minister and top ally of ex-president Jair Bolsonaro. Of course, he's one of his guys. As part of an investigation into an attempted coup, to overturn the results of the South American country's 2022 election. General Walter Braga Neto was formally accused last month, alongside Bolsonaro and 35 others, of plotting a coup to keep the former far-right president in office following his failed re-election bid. Prosecutors have yet to file formal charges against Braga Neto, who served as Bolsonaro's chief of staff from 2020 to 2021 and as a defense minister from 21 to 22. The arrest on Saturday stemmed from allegations of obstructing the collection of evidence, the federal police said in a statement. It came after investigators uncovered evidence of a larger role for Braga Neto in the alleged coup plot than previously thought, according to Supreme Court Justice Alejandro de Moraes, who ordered the arrest. Braga Neto has denied any role in the alleged conspiracy. His lawyers did not immediately respond to requests for comment from the news agency Reuters and the AP. And there's this guy in his yellow shirt having just a good old time, don't do a JFK, just saying, they a little pop, poppity, pop, pop. I don't know if this is going on or not, but, I think I haven't gotten an update on this since before the show, and I haven't done it during the show. But finally, we have the holiday season ultimatum from Amazon workers: bargain or we strike. So apparently, they were supposed to come to a decision yesterday, but it looks like they're gonna make a decision today. Workers at an Amazon warehouse and delivery center in New York announced approval of strike authorizations on Friday, giving the retail giant, who have refused to negotiate for months, until Sunday, now Monday, to come to the bargaining table or risk a major work stoppage at the height of the holiday shopping season. The unions representing Amazon workers at two New York City facilities, the JFK 8 warehouse on Staten Island and the DBK 4 delivery center in Queens, cited the company's illegal refusal to recognize their union and negotiate a contract to address low wages and dangerous working conditions as the reason for the strike authorization. Amazon is pushing its workers closer to the picket line by failing to show them the respect they have earned, said Teamsters General President Sean M. O'Brien in a statement. We've been clear, Amazon has until December 15th, and now apparently till today, unless one of you guys in the chat might know what's going on there. To come to the table and bargain for a contract. If these white-collar criminals want to keep breaking the law, they better get ready for a fight. The workers are demanding a living wage with fair pay increases, safer working conditions to prevent injuries and fatalities, job security and protection from arbitrary firings, and dignity and respect for all employees. Well, that is just way too much to ask. Dignity and respect for all employees? Dude, bro. In June, over 5,500 workers at JFK 8, who first voted in favor of creating a union in 2022, joined the Teamsters and chartered the Amazon Labor Union, IBT Local 1. Despite consolidating their organizing strength with the backing of the Teamsters, Amazon management has dragged their feet on bargaining a first contract, hardly surprising given the company's long-standing hostility to organized labor. Amazon's refusal to negotiate is a direct attack on our rights, said Connor Spence, president of ALU-IBT Local 1. If Amazon chooses to ignore us, they're the ones ruining Christmas for millions of families. We're not just fighting for a contract, we're fighting for the future of worker power at Amazon and beyond. Rank and file members said their demands are reasonable, especially as the company, owned by the world's second richest man, Jeff Bezos, continues to rake in massive profits year after year as one of the world's largest companies. We aren't asking for much, said James Sicardo, a worker at JFK 8. We just want what everyone else in America wants, to do our jobs and get paid enough to take care of ourselves and our families, and Amazon isn't letting us do that. In Queens, where Amazon workers at DBK4, the corporation's largest delivery station in the city, voted nearly unanimously to authorize a strike of their own. Driving for Amazon is tough, said Luke Renee, a driver who works out of DBK4, especially in New York. You trying to deliver in New York? Fuck that. What's even tougher is fighting a mega corporation that constantly breaks the law and games the system, but we won't give up. Every horror story you read about Amazon is true, but worse, said Justine, a warehouse worker in New York, in a video produced by More Perfect Union. A strike at this time of year, the busiest for the retail giant, reports labor correspondent Jessica Burbank for Dropsite News, would hit them where it hurts. The scale of the strike would be unprecedented, including the major hubs of New York and San Bernardino, California. Amazon, according to Burbank, Amazon now has a workforce of over 700,000, making it the largest employer of warehouse workers in the nation. If a contract is won at these initial 20 bargaining units, it has the potential to impact worker conditions for thousands of workers and inspire union organizing efforts at Amazon facilities across the country. That's the goal, right? Get these other unions fired up, and, you hit them where it hurts, right at Christmas time, right? People trying to do that last minute shopping. Woo! They're going to be in for a world of hurt in New York, at least. For Amazon workers who voted to unionize their warehouses in March of 2022, this has been a long time coming. Thousands of Amazon workers courageously cast their ballots to form a union at JFK 8 in Staten Island, Small said in a text. We shocked the world. We had won against a corporate giant and hoped that step would propel us forward to help create a better workplace. For years, Amazon stalled on recognizing the union and has not yet met union representatives at the negotiating table. They might after this. Small said, I'm excited to see workers take control, take the next step, and move even further down the path to victory when they exercise their right to strike, he continued. We celebrated as we inspired thousands of others to hope for the same. Bernie Sanders issued his support for the union. Big whoop, who cares? I'm not quoting his ass. The workers at JFK 8 said people could support the union's efforts in various ways at this critical time, including donating to the Solidarity Fund, help workers sustain their fight by contributing to the strike fund, show up on the picket line, spread the word, contact elected officials, sign the petition. So all these links I'm going to have here after the show. For his part, former Labor Secretary and economist Robert Reich said he had no sympathy for the retail giant's refusal to bargain in good faith with the workers who make its business model possible. Amazon had $15 billion in profits last quarter, said Reich. Don't tell me they can't afford to bargain a fair contract. Oh, they can afford it. All these companies can afford it. It's just they don't want to do it because that's like taking money away from their bottom line. You don't want that shit. What are you, crazy? What are you, some sort of commie? Oh, that's not good. Okay. In a quest to put sunshine on the propaganda, we like to look to the source of where propaganda really takes root and has been poisoning the minds of their people for almost 70 years. I'm talking about Israel, and I'm talking about Netanyahu. And one of the things they like to do is they like to lie to people. They like to do a little switch or change. They like to do a little bing bang pop, 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 pop. Like, look over here, I got a little shiny. It's a little shiny. I'm doing something over here, but look, it's shiny. Doesn't exist. Yeah, pissing on petitions. I know, right? But they're probably donating to the fund, though, would probably help, though. That's the mutual aid aspect of it. So, so Netanyahu loves to lie about shit, and of course, we're going to show that in just a moment. What?
The sharing of biased and
False news has become all too common on social media.
More alarming, some media outlets publish these same things are true without checking facts first.
Unfortunately, some members of the media use those platforms to push their own personal bias and agenda to control exactly what people think. And this is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
Yes, Netanyahu aide altered official records to allege earlier response from Prime Minister to 7 o'clock attack. Womp womp. I got caught again. I'm such a bad boy. Israeli TV has broadcast parts of a phone call between Fuckhead and then military secretary Major General Avi Gil that took place during the first minutes of Hamas's October 7th attack. The timestamp for the call was later altered by Netanyahu's chief of staff to suggest an earlier response by the prime minister to the threat. These motherfuckers lie about everything. Everything. During the conversation, which took place at 6:40 a.m. on October 7th, Netanyahu asked Gil whether the Hamas attack could potentially involve kidnappings. Gil responded, "That's what we think." During its attack on Israeli settlements and military bases known as Operation Al-Aqsa Flood, Hamas took some 230 Israeli soldiers and civilians captive back to Gaza. Netanyahu told Gil, "We need to see if we can take out their leadership immediately. If there's something available, take them out from Sinwar and down. We're trying to understand what's happening. Your mom, the police's elite counter-terrorism unit, your mom and them, has been deployed to the Gaza border community of Nativ Ha'asara, and the Gaza division is now transitioning to emergency status," Gil told Netanyahu, adding that there's no doubt we're dealing with something different here. "We're in a broad operation," he continued, asking Netanyahu for 15 minutes to check if there are any foot infiltrations into Israeli border communities. Netanyahu questioned why the attack erupted, saying, "We have no indication. I don't see anything in the provided intelligence." Gil then said, "We have nothing. We need to address these questions later, like how they surprised us." Netanyahu then said, "The first thing we need to see is the scale of the attack and decide if we need to mobilize reserves. We need to gather the general staff as soon as possible." Though not mentioned in the call, the Israeli Air Force was first dispatched to respond to the attack. The Israeli military also issued the Hannibal Directive, as you know what that is. Kill the prisoners, instructing its forces to kill Israeli soldiers and civilians if needed to prevent them from being taken captive. Kill the potential prisoners. Attack helicopters and drones opened fire on both Hamas fighters and Israelis in the settlements, Gaza border and Nova Music Festival, burning many alive and burying others in their homes. Israel blamed all of the roughly 1,200 Israeli deaths that day on Hamas, even though it was, the Hannibal Directive. Israeli authorities are now investigating whether the Prime Minister's office chief of staff, Zaki Braverman, sought to alter the timestamps of this conversation in the official records. Braverman allegedly changed the timestamp from 6:40 a.m. to 6:29 a.m. to create the impression that Netanyahu had already issued instructions on the unfolding security situation. Netanyahu and Gil first spoke that morning during a separate WhatsApp call at 6:29. Military Secretary Gil later noticed the alteration and reported it to Israel's Attorney General Gail Baharav Miara. Gil described the alteration as forgery in every way. This is a criminal act. The Prime Minister's office issued a statement denying the report. Of course, "We will not address all the state claims made in the show's so-called investigation," the statement said. The Prime Minister's office claimed that, contrary to what has been claimed, Braverman did not request to transcribe a conversation, nor did he falsify anything. Netanyahu's office added that it did not receive any warning and no one made an effort to update him, neither before the massacre nor on the night of the massacre. If he had indeed been updated, October 7th would have looked entirely different. Yeah. Meanwhile, the European Union's ad campaign broke the bloc's own privacy rules. What? You can't be breaking rules, kid. European Commission's Data Protection Oversight Body has found that an advertising campaign by the bloc on the tweeters in the fall of 2023 breached its privacy regulations. A regional privacy rights nonprofit, NOIB, which launched the complaint, said the campaign had illegally used political micro-targeting. NOIB, named after the phrase "none of your business." What? NOIB? Just put Nunya. Nunya's universal. Noib. That's so fucking stupid. It's probably some millennial, Gen Z, whatever the fuck. Said that the commission's strategy involving using proxy data to target specific groups while deliberately excluding conservative audiences by targeting users who had no interest in keywords like Qatargate, Brexit, Marine Le Pen, Alternative für Deutschland, Vox, Christian phobia, or Giorgio Meloni. Noib, I'm going to say Nunya. Nunya highlighted that the targeted data included sensitive political opinions without explicit consent from users, which is restricted under EU regulations. According to Nunya's statement on Friday, the EC tried to sway opinion and indirectly promote to users in the Netherlands a controversial chat control regulation proposal. The commission targeted politically liberal and left-leaning users on the tweeters in a bid to flip public sentiment. The 2022 CSAM child sexual abuse material draft law has attracted criticism among digital rights activists for potentially forcing messaging apps to conduct mass online surveillance in a bid to find and report child abuse material. In June, the EU Council temporarily withdrew voting on the legislation, according to reports. Using political preferences for ads is clearly illegal, Nunya's data protection lawyer Felix Mikolash said. He added that many political entities exploit such tactics while online platforms often do little to curb these practices. According to Nunya, the European Data Protection Supervisor, EDPS, confirmed that the EU had acted unlawfully, though it only issued a reprimand without a fine as the practice ceased. The EU previously argued on tech website TechCrunch that Tweeters was liable as it should have implemented the campaign according to the rules. It also previously told the publication that it did not intend to trigger the processing of special categories of personal data. We take note of the EDPS decision on the Commission's campaign to raise awareness about the Commission's legislative proposal to prevent and combat child sexual abuse material online. We will now assess the EDPS decision, Commission spokesperson Patricia Poropat told TechCrunch. Hold on a second. Again, ill-prepared. What's my last thing? Okay. Meanwhile, the saga of TikTok continues in courts as U.S. court rejects TikTok request to temporarily halt a pending U.S. ban. TikTokers. TikTok must now move quickly with a request to the Supreme Court to block or overturn a law that would require its Chinese parent ByteDance to divest of the short video app by January 19th after an appeals court on Friday rejected a bid for more time. TikTok and ByteDance on Monday had filed the emergency motion with the U.S. Court of Appeals for the District of Columbia asking for more time to make their case to the U.S. Supreme Court. The companies had warned that without court action, the law will shut down TikTok, one of the nation's most popular speech platforms, for its more than 170 million domestic monthly users. Wow. But the court rejected the bid, saying TikTok and ByteDance had not identified a previous case in which a court, after rejecting a constitutional challenge to an act of Congress, has enjoined the act from going into effect while review was sought in the Supreme Court. Friday's unanimous court order said. A TikTok spokesperson said after the ruling that the company plans to take its case to the Supreme Court, which has an established historical record of protecting Americans' right to free speech. Under the law, TikTok will be banned unless ByteDance divests it by January 19th. The law also gives the U.S. government sweeping powers to ban other foreign-owned apps that could raise concerns about collection of Americans' data. Because they don't want competition like they have, because the CIA likes and the NSA likes to collect all your shit, and they don't want anybody else doing that. That's our job. The U.S. Justice Department argues continued Chinese control of the TikTok application poses a continuing threat to national security, of course. It's like self-protection, threat to national security. TikTok says the Justice Department has misstated the social media's app's ties to China arguing its content recommendation engine and user data are stored in the U.S. on cloud servers operated by Oracle, while content moderation decisions that affect U.S. users are made in the United States. The decision, unless the Supreme Court reverses it, puts TikTok's fate first in the hands of Democratic President Joe Biden on whether to grant a 90-day extension of the January 19th deadline to force a sale, and then of Republican President-elect Donald Trump, who takes office January 20th. Trump, who unsuccessfully tried to ban TikTok during his first term in 2020, said before the November election he would not allow the ban on TikTok. Also on Friday, the chair and top Democrat on a U.S. House of Representatives Committee on China told the CEOs of Google parent Alphabet and Apple that they must be ready to remove TikTok from their U.S. app stores on January 19th. So TikTok might be going away unless they get like a 90-day thing. I don't think Biden's going to do it. I don't think Biden really wants anything to do with that. Hey, hey, Denver, good to see you, my friend. Hope everything's going well. CBC vote. I don't know if I shouted you out earlier, but if I didn't, I'm doing it now. What's up, buddy? Yeah, so meanwhile, same old in New York, 2 NYU faculty members arrested at pro-Palestine protests. 2 faculty members at NYU were arrested Thursday during a demonstration on campus where pro-Palestinian supporters were demanding that the university divest from companies profiting from the Israeli war on Gaza, according to the university's Faculty for Justice in Palestine chapter. The arrests occurred during a sit-in at NYU where students were nonviolently blocking access to the Bob's Library. According to the American Association of University Professors, the professors were not involved in the protest itself, but were there to ensure the safety of the student demonstrators. At Thursday's protest, students were calling on the university to divest from Israeli companies profiting off of the oppression of and violence against Palestinian people. A total of 8 people were arrested during the protests. Video circulating on social media showed one of the faculty members, sociologist Andrew Ross, being arrested and taken away by NYPD officers. Because sure, there he is. He's getting
Free Palestine! Free Palestine! Free Palestine!
Cops being cops. 3 NYU faculty members, 2 of whom were arrested during the protests, were made aware that they had been declared persona non grata by the school's security. This move makes them unable to enter any university buildings, including their own classrooms. The faculty were told that the PNG order came from the office of the provost, Gigi Dopico, who later verbally confirmed the PNG status, but said she had no details on the reasons for it except that it was a security issue. The NYU Faculty for Justice in Palestine said Thursday, Middle East Eye reached out to NYU for comment but not received response by the time they wrote this. The AAUP condemned the arrests, saying they were part of a broader crackdown on pro-Palestine activities at universities. This crackdown on NYU faculty is part of a distressing pattern of repression of pro-Palestinian speech on college campuses, Todd Wolfson, president of AAUP, said in a statement. We condemn this practice and we will fight to defend academic freedom and the right of faculty, students, and staff to peacefully assemble on campuses across the country. Since the Israeli war on Gaza began in October last year, university students have been some of the leading proponents of pro-Palestinian actions calling for an end to the war. Earlier this year, student encampments were set up by students across dozens of schools, with their demands being that universities divest financial interests in companies profiting from the war on Gaza. Those protests were met with widespread crackdowns from university administrations working in tandem with police. When education and police work together. Legal advisors and student activists have told MEE that they fear the current campus climate, coupled with the incoming administration of Trump in January, could lead to even greater reprisals for students and faculty simply engaging in pro-Palestinian or anti-war rhetoric. The arrest comes weeks after the FBI raided the home of 2 Palestinian-American students at George Mason University who were leaders of the school Students for Justice in the Palestine chapter. Come on now. You know you want to work for me. Finally, ABC News has to pay Trump money. ABC News to make defamation payout to Trump. Look at it. It was like, give me your money, ABC. Give me the money. I want that money. ABC News has agreed to donate $15 million to U.S. President-elect Donald Trump's future museum in order to settle a defamation lawsuit. His future museum. That's probably the propaganda part. The fuck out of museum he's gonna have. It's gonna be like a county fair or something. It's gonna have rides and shit. Trump sued the network after anchor George Stephanopoulos claimed live on air that the U.S. president-elect had been found liable for raping columnist E. Jean Carroll. According to the settlement document made public on Saturday, ABC has agreed to transfer $15 million cash to a presidential foundation and museum set up by Trump. The channel will also pay $1 million to Trump's lawyers. This sounds like some money laundering shit. A fucking museum. Fuck that guy. In addition to the payout, ABC published an editor's note on its website saying that the network and Stephanopoulos regret statements regarding President J. Trump. President J. Trump? Is that the alternate universe Donald Trump? We're pleased that the parties have reached an agreement to dismiss the lawsuit on the terms in the court filing, ABC said in a brief statement. The legal dispute stems from an episode of ABC News This Week show that aired on March 10th of this year. During an interview with Republican Congresswoman Nancy Mace, Stephanopoulos stated that Donald Trump has been found liable for rape by a jury. In May 2023, a Manhattan jury found Trump civilly liable for sexually abusing and defaming Carroll and awarding her $5 million in damages. In January, a jury ruled in a second defamation trial that Trump must pay Carroll an additional $83.3 million. The judge in both cases, Lewis Kaplan, said that the verdicts had failed to prove that Trump raped her within the narrow technical meaning of a particular section of the New York Penal Code, according to the Associated Press. In August last year, a judge dismissed Trump's defamation countersuit against Carroll. According to Carroll, Trump assaulted her inside a New York department store during the mid-1990s. Trump has denied any wrongdoing, describing the allegations as a hoax and a lie. He claimed that the cases brought by Carroll were part of a larger politically motivated smear campaign aimed at sabotaging his 2024 presidential election bid. The president-elect has also repeatedly accused the lying media of amplifying false information about him, yada, 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 yada. Yeah, so old Trumpy getting more money, and you and I get nothing. We get nothing and like it, right? We're supposed to get nothing and like it. Hey, Teresa, good to see you, sweetie. Hope you're having a pleasant morning. Look at that, man. All bouncing everywhere, man. We got Dingo's here, too. PSA Middle East Eye gets funding from Qatar, so take with a grain of salt. Any Syria coverage or lack thereof as Qatar blocks the jihads. Al Arabiya is not exactly a reputable one, too. I kind of pick and choose from those sites, and I tend to stay away from the ones that are more opinionated than they are actual facts. So, but like I said, it's good looking out. Everybody, I post the links to these articles after the show inside the video description down below. So it's empty right now, but once the show's over, I'll go in there and paste them in there. And you can check out all those links for yourself. That's what I want people to do, use their critical thinking skills. Finally, speaking of not using your critical thinking skills or any thinking skills, thousands of Santas and a few Grinches hit the streets for annual SantaCon bar crawls. Yeah, it's that time of year. It's time for people to get out and do that. So this is in San Francisco. And basically, it's a bar crawl. You know, you go from... You go from bar to bar, and
I feel like it's so like strange for us because we don't do that, and it's like American are doing like 100% for everything, and so like being here with everyone dressed up is like so funny. But yeah, I really enjoy it, and I feel like it's the best time to being here right now. So yeah, just having fun.
So this makes it all look all like fun.
I love
and
to dress up, and I love the holiday season, and I love getting into the whole vibe of the holiday and seeing everyone else dressed up. That's what I pretty much do for a living. I mean, and a hobby. It's a hobby. I cosplay anyways, so it's so much fun to see everybody in the festive mood.
See, this looks like the lightweight version, the New York version.
Look at all these people. Everyone's here with the Christmas spirit, all the love, and they're here to see me, Santa. So come on. I mean, how could you miss SantaCon? I'm here on the main event. This is amazing. People in San Francisco deserve this activity. We deserve so much Christmas spirit, and it's incredible. So I'm here for it.
Yeah, so, but in New York, it's a different story. It's a bunch of drunk Santa Clauses that will throw up on you. Santa Clauses are coming to town. Thousands of Kris Kringles and jolly old Saint Nicks are jamming the streets, sidewalks, and bars from Adelaide to Vancouver on Saturday for the annual SantaCon charity pub crawls charity. In New York City, where temperatures hovered around freezing, the fermented merriment kicked off around 10 a.m. and was slated to stretch into the evening. Yeah, so it's just basically going around drinking all day, just getting hammered, but you dress like Santa Claus. Santa's along with, nobody asked you for nothing. Santa's along with people dressed as Grinches, elves, or other holiday characters strolled to bars and clubs from Midtown Manhattan to the East Village, flooding the streets with a crimson tide of Christmas cheer and a stream of puke. The NYC SantaCon is a charitable, non-commercial, non-political, nonsensical Santa Claus convention that happens once a year to spread absurdist joy, the organizer's website explained. SantaCon participants are encouraged to donate $15 to enter participating venues. Organizers say the money will go to charity. Similar Christmas-themed booze fests were being held Saturday in about 50 cities around the globe, including London, Phoenix, Winnipeg, and San Francisco. I have summer homes in all of those places. Some places held their SantaCons, or someplace. When is it someplace held? That's some places held their SantaCons on Friday, last weekend, or last month. More are scheduled throughout December. New York City police posted reminders on social media that open containers are prohibited in the streets and that blocking pedestrian and car traffic can lead to a summons. They also encourage people attending the event to have a designated driver. Commuter rail lines in the region ban passengers from drinking on board. What's funny is you can't have an open beverage, like an open adult beverage in New York City, but ladies, if you want to show them boobies, you want to show off the girls, that's totally fine, because they have parades down there, and they'll have women that just go topless. During the Pride parade, it was just half of it was just naked people. It was wild. I guess that's it. I guess that's all you really deserve today. You've been good enough, but not that good. So do better. What's going on later today? I think as Ellen said, the due distance things tonight, and she's going to be on there. I support Ellen. She's a sweetheart. Was it Ellen? Who said that? Who the fuck said that? It was Ellen. Okay, that's right. And of course, I think Willie said no show tonight, right? I think, Willie, if you're still in the chat, let me know. Because he mentioned something about his family coming in this week or something. What's up, Moose? You just got here. You sure did. What else? Of course, Around the World with D and Friends. I should really check with those guys, see what their holiday schedule is going to be for next week. Because that's and speaking of next week, next Monday night, the 23rd, is Festivus. And so we're going to have the Festivus show and get our puppety oddball friends together and have a good time. Air our grievances. We'll have a Festivus poll. And the feat of strength will be how long we can last without having to go to the toilet. ExtraBulla, I wouldn't want to make our nipple guy nervous. Oh, envious. No, you're right. Because, Nay's Garden, he would be like, he seems like somebody who would be jealous of other people's nipples. But that's a discussion for another show at another time. I want to thank everybody for hanging out and watching all this depressing news shit. I'm glad I could bring it to you. Not to depress you, but to inform you at least. If you're new or whatever, you're watching this in the future and we have flying cars, just hit like, share, and subscribe. We got donation links down below in the description. If you want to donate to the show, that'd be great. We appreciate it. We also have Patreon too. You could do $1 a month if you wanted to. And if you're broke as a joke like me, I understand. If you can share out the links, that will make a good time too. And tell all your friends, we got some news going on Monday, Wednesday, Fridays, 11 a.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Central, 9 a.m. Mountain Time, 8 a.m. Pacific Time. Cowboy Kitty in the mix too. What's up? Nay Spittoon. That's funny. And until then, should be a new gaming thing. Hopefully I'm going to get that fixed. I had a little issues, like I said, with the gaming thing over the weekend. So hopefully I'll get that fixed and we'll have something out soon. I don't know if we're going to do ExtraBulla this week or next week. We'll see. We may just do some more chat shows, get you guys together and have some fun. In the meantime, I want to say peace out and smell you later. Black Bear News, 2 p.m. Eastern today on YouTube and Rockfin and Rumble, I think, too. So Kevin at Black Bear News, good environmental stuff. And he's been doing other news stuff, too, so he does well. Check him out, and I'll see you later. Peace!
This is City Alpha 5! Woo!